FBI found scant evidence about an insurrection on January 6.
Military went out of Kabul Airport and rescued 169 Americans.
Former defense and intelligence officials commented on Afghanistan withdrawal. They said, "We had a plan, but they threw it out of the window." Exactly what did they say?
Feature story of the day. An award-winning war correspondent will share his perspectives on Afghanistan based on his unique personal experiences and observations. What is it?
Welcome back to Wei and Cathy show. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
And I'm Cathy Zhang.
Yeah, good evening. This is Friday.
Right.
And hope you have a good time. And then also, the feature story, let's first talk about it. What was the feature story, Cathy?
Right. Okay, yeah, so I interviewed this self-taught war correspondent. Basically, his name is Michael Young. He was formerly Green Beret. In the 1980s and in the 1990s, he started to become a writer and photographer, basically going to around the world, mostly to the war zones, including Afghanistan, Iraq, Philippines, Thailand, also Hong Kong, to report on the front line. And his work had been featured in many of the mainstream media at that time. And he also got awards for several years because of his military blogs. So he has very unique experiences and observations and analysis on many of the things, including Afghanistan. So I think it's very interesting to learn what he has to say about what's going on in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I cannot help noticing that Michael Young, right? The photo back then was 2011.
Right.
Now it's 10 years later. Okay, so this is the current, today's Michael Young. Okay, stay with us, and Cathy will bring you that story. First, let's talk about the news of the day before we go to the feature story of the day, which will be on the Safe Chat again. So, 3 pieces of news for you to take note. First, the sources, Reuters published a report today. Basically, they said that their source close to the FBI have this finding. FBI has found scant evidence that the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol was the result of an organized plot to overturn the presidential election result. And then, they interviewed, the source has to do with the 4 current and former law enforcement officials. Although federal government has arrested more than 570 alleged participants, FBI believe at this point the violence was not centrally coordinated by far-right groups or prominent supporter of Trump. According to the sources who have been either directly involved in or briefed regularly on the wide-ranging investigations. Basically, one senior official said 90 to 95% of this are one-off cases. And you have 5% maybe of those militia groups that were more closely organized, but there was no grand scheme with Roger Stone or Alex Jones and all of those people to storm the Capitol and take hostages. So at this time, actually, more than 170 people have been charged so far with assaulting or impeding a police officer. Versus seditious charge, so that carry. But those charge, the assaulting or impeding a police officer, carry a maximum sentence of 20 years. But one source said there has been little, if any, recent discussion by senior Justice Department officials of filing charges such as seditious conspiracy and so on and so forth. And FBI, it seems that they are reluctant in pressing on with the severe charge. Although some other people, including a federal judge, is urging them to the Justice Department to charge the defendant harshly. So we'll see. We'll see how things will unfold.
Right. Okay. Now let's go to some of the updates of what's going on in Afghanistan, especially rescuing Americans. So American troops left the airport in Kabul, Afghanistan this week and to rescue 169 Americans. So that was released by the officials today. So that operation actually took place on Wednesday or Thursday. The mission was significant because it's the first time, according to the U.S. officials, that American troops had left the U.S.-held airport to rescue Americans. Remember, on Wednesday, the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters that the U.S. military did not have the capability to go out and collect up a large amount of the American people. So scattered reports allege rescue missions have been carried out by the U.S., British, and the French special forces. And remember also on Wednesday and at the Pentagon press conference, the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, Mark Milley, told reporters that there are many different varieties of special forces on the ground in Afghanistan.
Yeah. So that report shows that the news is the military went to a place very close by the airport.
Yeah, I think this question was pressed by quite a few reporters at the press conference.
Yeah.
You know, is the U.S. Troops gonna be sent out of Kabul to collect people, because the people have hard time to go through the checkpoints by the Taliban, although it was claimed that the Taliban and the U.S. government has agreement on the safe passage.
And since the stunning collapse of Afghanistan, the Biden administration has been pretty much blaming on the intelligence, not informing them of such development, such potential, and no one has predicted that it would fall. The Afghanistan regime would fall this quickly. Okay, so however, the Breitbart correspondent Christina Wang, she wrote a report. Basically, she interviewed 3 former defense and intelligence officials of the Trump administration, and then this is their sharing. Okay, first, actually, Trump would not pull out all the troops. He intended to leave 800 U.S. troops on the ground, which will be operating drones, the drone attack, and then carry out other terrorism effort, and advise the Afghanistan military, and also just be there to provide morale support. And the exact purpose is to prevent Afghanistan from collapsing. Okay, and then so that to make the Afghanistan troops to feel secure enough. That was the purpose. And specifically, they said Trump has 3 purposes. One, he negotiated with the Taliban before he announced the pullout. First one, a direct repudiation and rejection of Al-Qaeda by the Taliban. That's the first condition that Taliban have to accept. And the second one is an agreement between the Taliban and Afghan government to negotiate an interim government that the U.S. would assist with. Okay, that's the second condition. The third is the technical detail that U.S. will leave a special force unit, 800 people, as I said earlier, in the region to combat any terrorist threat that came up during the process. Okay, further, they said that they have a blueprint, the Trump administration, as well as the plans to remove Americans' equipment, machinery, military equipment, as well as contingency. All right. However, he said that the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin refused to meet with the acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller. If you know his background, and he's a special force officials in Afghanistan, he's on the ground for many years in Afghanistan, a real veteran. Okay, but so basically, the Austin refused to meet with him. They don't even see him, and then not just that. the other people, I mean the top Biden transition team member Catherine Hicks and Christine Wormuth, okay, also refused to meet with Miller. And then they said the Biden team even denied Miller an office at the Pentagon as he wrapped up his work, which is customary for outgoing administrations. So, yeah, so basically, they said we have a plan, but the incoming administration just threw it out of the window, and then they just fast forward the pullout plan by 6 to 8 months. And another thing they talk about is the airport. Okay, the airport. Remember that U.S. military now is guarding the Kabul Airport, and then, however, there's another option which you may have heard from the news. It's called a Bagram. That's not an airport. Okay, that's the Air Force. That's a massive military air force called Bagram, which is 20 miles north of Kabul. So, which is the one that U.S. military is much easier for them to safeguard, to protect, and operate the pullout, the withdrawal operation. However, the Biden administration just gave it up. So that now they have to defend this Kabul Airport, international airport, which is very difficult to operate on. So that's the other thing. And so the official said that they gave that up before doing anything. They just gave it up, the Bagram. And I think the Michael Young, which is the in the feature story, he will be talking about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, I think, to listen to Michael Young and also what the story that Wei just shared, and you can piece it together to see, maybe it give you a more complete picture.
Okay, so that's the news of today. Now let's move on to the feature story of today. We'll be moving platform 2. We'll wrap up here at the YouTube, and then just let's come over to SafeChat. Eddie, please share that and log in with register a account, and also chat there, express your opinion. More and more people are just leaving comment here, so we're kind of things are heating up there. We're very happy to see that. Anyway, just let's come over.
I already see quite a few of our friends here saying they are moving, going to SafeChat to find us. So that's great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, we really look forward to presenting you the feature story of the day.
Okay, let's just make the move. Let's say 1, 2, 3. Move at the same time.
Go.
Come over. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, folks, on